Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hello, Katerina. Hi, we've got JM here. Wave. See some familiar faces. Actually, for the first bit, yeah, please, if you can, before we crash. Oh, we've got Leon from Harare. Wow, we're quite an international bunch here. We've got London, we've got Harare. Wow, we've got Geneva, we've got Stratford City. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to start, and then I'm sure people will continue to join us as we go along. Just because of the bandwidth, if we could turn our cameras off now, that would be really great. Thanks so much, guys. So you join us for the first Hatch Ideas breakfast. I'm going to call it celebration, but it's a breakfast gathering. And for many of you who are familiar with Hatch or not, at Hatch, we've been working for quite a number of years to support people to realize their amazing ideas, people that want to create cultural change or have a social impact. And as the Corona situation occurred, we came together as an organization and just felt that this was a great time to support our network and people who have similar aims, to support them in being able to weather the storm and build their capacity in order to actually get through this situation. And you know what? This could be an amazing time to actually leapfrog and get to that place that you are, your business desires and your goals much more quickly and more rapidly. Anyway, we sat down, we thought, what is it? What does that mean? And the big word that came to us was resilience. And so we've pulled together from our network people that not just embody resilience, but actually practice and teach resilience. And I'm really happy that we have Rebecca Ellis, who's going to be joining us for this session. And she'll be talking to us about mindset and just, what strategies you can put in place in order to get through not just this situation, but pretty much many situations of adversity. Anyway, before we get into that, I want to just do some housekeeping. I hope you had a read of the instructions where we ask you to grab a drink so you can feel relaxed. Please keep your microphones on mute. We will have questions. If you do have any questions, please put your hand up. There is an icon. It's a hands up icon. While I'm doing this preamble, take a moment to try and find it. I believe there's 3 dots, or you need to find the gallery view. Everyone's got different platforms, so I'm not too sure how to kind of support you locating it, but try and see if we can find it through the course of this. If you can't, you can always write your question into the chat, and Shao, who's doing the support for this call, will be feeding them to me via another platform, WhatsApp, and then I'll be able to ask the questions, okay? Anything that's discussed in this room, please, would be really grateful if you can not share. Well, you can share the insights, but please don't quote people or ask permission before you quote people. And yeah, bring your energy and let's have a really let's have a really close conversation, and feel free to ask questions and share your observations and opinions. So let's get into it. If you hear a fire alarm, there's nothing much I can do. Please don't smoke. I mean, smoke, it's your own house and you know where the toilets are. It's your own home. All right then, so let's get cracking. So Becky, if you can please put your camera back on, that'd be great, so we can see you. And your microphone, please.
There you go.
Hello, fantastic.
Good morning.
Welcome. So, right, so Becky is she runs a wonderful wealth management company called Pomona, based in, am I right, Geneva?
Correct. Yep.
Fantastic. And she's also the co-owner of a online fitness company called Blue Tiger Eye Wellness, and also has a stellar rugby career. Really, really, thank you so much for joining us for this session. But before we get into it, it'd be great if you could just please tell everybody a little bit more about yourself and something of the profile of the clients that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank
you.
you for welcoming me. Firstly, it's really exciting to have so many people here. My first Zoom, I think, speech. So that's awesome. So yeah, so a bit about myself. So I'm a British national living in Switzerland for the last 12 years. My background is I came from the West Country of the UK. After going to university, moving to London, to the big city, I chose to try and explore an international career. So I fell into, I would say, international banking. And then through my career, I decided that I was missing something. It wasn't quite what I wanted. So then I founded Pomona Wealth, which was based on behavioral finance. So it's really looking at the psychology of money and how to make more of it for my clients. So since becoming independent, I've dealt with a lot more entrepreneurs, direct investments, and as well as people's private money, which has expanded my sort of range of abilities to help entrepreneurs sort of find new opportunities. And my ethos of money has always been that money, the more you have, the more you can do, the more you can help people. It's not necessarily greed, or it's not necessarily a greed factor. It's about, you know, this gives you an opportunity to help others make themselves for themselves, because I don't come from a rich background. I come from a working class background, and I had to fight through a number of my levels to get to where I am today. So psychology and wellness was something that I found very important. And from helping people, I became resilient and took part of my teachings from my sort of countryside lifestyle, which was using the open air and working out how to combat challenges through the physical. So then last year I chose to look at what well-being means, and as well as money, there's also the physical and the psychological side. So I set up the Blue Tiger Eye Wellness with Victoria, and we are looking at the mental and psychological, how that can help you become a better person in your personal and business sphere.
Thank you. So, I mean, what have you been kind of, I guess, seeing in terms of how people have been responding to as people meaning entrepreneurs, your client base, how have they been responding to the corona situation? Could you tell us a little bit more about your observations of how people have been dealing with the current crisis?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because my marketplace is very international, and I'm a strong believer of globalization. So the coronavirus has sort of destabilized the idea of globalization and what that means, and I think we're all realizing what the supply chain is now. I have a majority of my clients in West Africa and South Africa, and obviously those markets are more globalized in terms of they have more links, trade links with, let's say, Asia, which was the start of corona. And also their margins are quite different because they have to deal with an FX challenge, which maybe, you know, in Europe and the US, we are quite complacent, where we don't have to think about what is the value of our money. And so that has meant a lot of my clients, in terms of, you know, not just looking at their sort of wealth which they have amassed over the last 10 years or so, it's looking at how their businesses are impacted and what that means for their livelihood and going forward. So what I've seen is there is a lot of fear, there is a lot of challenges, but it's also about how you manage those challenges to make the opportunities. So what I've seen is some clients look at, for their businesses, look at how to take advantage of the local market. However, the reality is they are suffering, and it's for them to be the ones that have managed it or are managing it better, the ones that diversified beforehand. So the key element is learning how to diversify your marketplace to enable yourself to actually progress forward. Because when these challenges arise, the people that have diversified do well. So a good example is if we look at communication. We're all using Zoom today. Zoom as a stock jumped by 50% last week. But when it comes down to it, Zoom after this period, maybe people will see that it's a video-based service and it's great, but what else does it offer? Zoom only offers one product, whereas, you know, other services can offer more. So really it's for Zoom now to find where else can they match alliances and collaboration to make sure that they don't, you know, miss out on this opportunity of them being the biggest used communication tool at the moment. So they should be looking at expansion, not just profiting from the current moment that they're seeing. So when you take that back to yourself and your business, I have a client who's in cigarettes, manufacturing cigarettes. There is a new, there's always taxes on tobacco. It's the easiest thing to tax. Any sin stock is always easy to tax. But what he's found is he's decided that because of the oncoming taxes in his area, which was Nigeria, he's chosen to give the retailers who he normally would sell cigarette packs to how to make their own cigarettes by providing them the materials. And by doing that, he has basically halved their tax base of what they would have to pay or what they have to charge to their suppliers. So it's really interesting to see that, you know, by using that technique, he's not impacted in the corona, whereas he's got a limited stock of 3 months, and if it goes on more than 3 months and they can't bring in more, then they would have a problem. But because of his other project to avoid something else, he has actually got a strength where he can provide cigarettes to maybe more retailers who'll be more interested in looking at it because they have a lack of stock.
God, that's really, you bring me actually to the next question that I was going to ask, because what I've heard from that is being able to diversify your services, you know, servicing your clients differently and making alliances and collaborating, and also being mindful that this is not a permanent state in time or space, and that, you know, as a business, you should always still be looking for other opportunities anyway, and you know, not letting this stunt your ambition. But it'd be great if we could just break down a bit about how you actually came to that conclusion, you know, in terms of like what kind of mindset or approach have you been taking in terms of like approaching the situation, and how are you kind of like managing clients' expectations and bringing them to this kind of place of being able to maintain momentum within your business and within your practice?
Yeah, so I think it's quite interesting at the moment because what we find is, for example, the same person, the client I was talking about at the moment, he's very strategic, where his wife is very, they're both, she can become very impacted by news. So whereas when I met them a month ago or 6 weeks ago, in person in Geneva, they were both very lateral thinking about the situation with Corona. And she's gone to very much panic mode because she is fearful that she cannot go out of her house in the UK. He is still on the sort of very look at the opportunity. So how do you take two people in a relationship, one very high level, one very nervous? So what do you have to do? My point of view is it's like jumping out of a plane. When you look out of the plane, all you see is mass. And then when you put that parachute on, you need to make sure your parachute is sturdy and it's well. But then as you jump and you get closer to the ground, you see more and more detail. So this is how I suggest clients to look at the global pictures. When you start high, you have an idea, you see clouds, you have a dream, you have a vision. And then as you go down, those different levels, you get more detail. But the important thing is not to get stuck in the absolute minute detail. It's important to remember that the idea at the beginning and look at how the detail builds that picture. So if you were to do the reverse, let's say that you were on the ground with so much information in front of you, you don't know where to start. The best thing is to take a step back so that your vision clears and that you have a mindset of actually looking at what's around you and adopting what is positive. So if you take that from a business context, let's say you're an entrepreneur in some creative field. Let's, for example, say you're in dance at the moment, doing dance classes, and your focus was having great teachers and providing your idea is to develop a community, and then you want great teachers to be able to drive that. You need people to come to a good environment, clean and efficient, to people enjoy the content, and then people do. Those are the different 5 levels. Now it's not possible because obviously you're shut down. You can't do that. So what do you do? There is obviously Zoom, and there's a lot of great communication tools, but you firstly have to say, okay, well, the ethos is people still need that. When people do exercise, that produce kinetic energy in yourself, and that gives you the you to step up a level and see the bigger picture. So that's why it's important to look at taking, okay, so we can't do it in the community in a hall together, but we can still do it by using other techniques. But the principles are the same. It's just the delivery you have to change. And that's an opportunity, because after this, you have online courses that you can offer. You can go further afield. You can globalize. So you don't need to take it as a negative and say, well, I can't work today because it's closed. You need to look at the opportunities. And that's why it's important, the important element of exercise, music, and art. These are why extremely important. Why do these provide, color to our lives? Because that gives us, our brain is neurons, and they react to these stimulus. So some people get more reacted by art, some get more reacted by physical, which is exercise and sports, and some people by music, by sound, because it's another type of learning. So those things can help us raise up to the level of the vision, but then it's important to go down. So it's continuous 5 to 1 levels, where you go from the big vision to the detail, but it's all interconnected. But you cannot, if you get stuck, you need to do what is right for you. And that's why Blue Tiger Eye Wellness, I found it a strong connect to my business, because the more I focused on exercise, the more I sort of see clarity in my business. So you need to learn which style of business which style of energy you have, and through that you can then actually deliver your product better by having the vision and space versus being clouded by detail. So some people are very detailed oriented and some people aren't, and we all have natural advantages and disadvantages. But it's about learning when you have a disadvantage, maybe that's time to get a collaborator in to make it full.
That's what I've picked up from that was, the sense of taking a step back, taking stock, being very mindful of how you are, what state how to get to a state where you are most imaginative and not stuck and clouded. I mean, for me, I very quickly learned that I need sleep. I need sleep and space. And then once I have some time out from other humans, I can come out, really full of great ideas, or at least able to look at like you said, look at the detail and remember the vision, and be able to kind of look at the current situation and manage that opportunity in its reality. And that's when you're able to, I personally agree with you, come up with solutions. So it's that sort of like getting into a state where you're at your optimum solution, your solution's best. And then the other thing I picked up from what you were saying was just the sense of going back to business basics, and actually being mindful of what do my clients actually need, and the example you gave of the dance teacher started to fire off in my mind, the fact that actually in this current time, the people might actually really benefit and want one-to-one business support, or they might even could they collaborate with someone who is selling clothes, Could they collaborate with a psychologist? You know, there are various different things that was coming to my mind. And I felt that when you go back to just your business basics in terms of like, who are my clients? What do they need? What service can I provide them from my own source and or with collaborators? Then that's a very solid way through. I think when we spoke, we were thinking very much about some really tangible things that people could actually do in order to help them to, I guess, move from. Admittedly, you know, I had a whole week of, I didn't even realize I was in panic mode. I didn't even realize it. And it was kind of only when I started to eat out of it that I realized that, oh my goodness, I have actually been in panic mode. Because panic presents itself so differently for different people. Mine's very much eating all the food in the house and and binge watching TV. But you know, are there any practical things that people can actually do to sort of like keep momentum, you know?
Yeah. So when I first started Pomona Wealth, it was very much, I was sitting in a shared office space. I was calling people, my clients who promised to come along with me on the ride. Some of them did, some of them were taking their time. And I had a lot of time to have to chase people. And instead of my natural disposition is, if it's not working, work harder. It must be something you must do. You've got to do more. And actually, what I realized after obviously being in a busy office in a bank with 200-300 people, and it was me and people that didn't even know what I was doing. Though I had other humans near me, I wasn't getting the interaction from them, and then I wasn't getting called back because people were like, well, what is this? You know, what is asset management? What is, you know, a multi-family office? You know, what is that? So my clients who joined me, obviously, you know, I only had 15 of them, so I couldn't call them all the time. But it gave me a lot of opportunity I decided that I was going to have a routine. And I was going to basically set myself objectives in terms of doing exercise, because I always knew that I felt better after exercise. So being naturally also a morning person, which not everyone is, gives me an advantage, whereby I was able to get up, get out, do my sports, and come and think laterally about what I did. So for me, the key step in setting up a business, a financial business, which is actually every business is extremely hard to set up, is having a routine. For me, it was obviously getting the trust of clients, and obviously then building upon that, and showing that delivering that by results, which we were doing. But you know, people needed to see time in the market, and sometimes time in the market means that you get a lot of no's. But it gave me the opportunity to market new markets I haven't marketed before, and it gave me the opportunity to maybe synthesize with my clients more culturally than I had previously, which was more about investments. And now I could actually look at what they're really doing in the business and see if I could connect them to other people that I knew, just to try and progress the trust factor. So the key thing for me was identifying what worked for me and then implementing a routine. So sometimes I become very frustrated. So this is where rugby is fantastic. I can go and tackle someone at training. I can kill someone in a match. I can become very aggressive, but then you use that aggression controlled, because rugby is all about playing smart. There is the objective. It's an evasion game. It's not a game of contact, but power is one of the ways that you can win. So it's a matter of understanding the benefits, but you have to be brave enough to push the lines. So rugby has always been for me a outlet of, if I was very frustrated, maybe that's why I'm too good at it, because I got way too frustrated, but it was a way for me to channel my energy of negativity and frustrations through something I enjoyed, against sports. So for me, the first year and a half of Pomona was a lot of keeping to my routines, improving my routines, and then bringing in sort of a mental wellness. So that's not just doing it. It's like, okay, so now what have I learned today, and what have I improved on? And I realized by doing that, that gave me the better space to do the diversification, which I spoke about at the beginning. So bringing in a routine, If you have a new reality, bringing a routine to that and sticking to it. Even if it's, you want to do an hour and you only do 15 minutes, it doesn't matter, who cares? Tomorrow you'll do 25 minutes. It's not do or die, it's about continue. And as you grow, as you do it, you'll be doing an hour every day if you want to do an hour exercise, but you only rolled out of bed and it's like, oh God, I've only got half an hour. Well, that half an hour is still important. Your body needs you to sleep, so that's fine. So you just need to do that. And if it's like listening to music or playing an instrument or doing some dance or some meditation, it's the same point. Don't give up just because you haven't done as much as you want. Just keep consistent.
Thank you. And then once that actually, because obviously the title of this is Staying Certain in Uncertain Times, and that seems like staying centered, having a sense of self isn't just about having those great business tools, but it's you are the center of kind of like your decision making and being very much serving your mental and emotional well-being. Sounds absolutely like the foundations of how people move through all times of adversity. And I think we forget that sometimes. When we were speaking earlier, there was also some really tangible things that you enlightened me on as well to couple with that, so that when you are in this space, or to get to that space, in terms of practical things, what I also liked hearing and wanted to expand on is that sense of having a plan and being able to, I guess the typical thing is doing a SWOT, when you kind of like look at how do you what tools can you use to be able to see, your environment kind of thing. And it'd be great if you could just finish off with just some, really specific action steps maybe people can take in order to just focus in and get some very sort of specific action steps.
Okay, so I mean, I think most people, when you have a business, you do a business plan and you do it for 1, 3, 5 years. You have your different objectives. I break that down to my yearly plan to a monthly plan of where I want to be every month and what I want to achieve on those months. And then basically, that brings it down to a weekly plan and a daily plan. So I always have a plan of where I'm going. Now, I don't always keep to that plan, and nothing is ever straight line. So it would be nice to just be able to, exactly build new clients every month by 5 a month or 2 a week. But sometimes 10 in 1 month and 0 in the next month. So you have to be flexible. So what I've learned is it's about adapting those plans. So for me, it's firstly having a plan, understanding my objectives, understanding to be flexible. So if I haven't reached something, then it's okay, well, how do I achieve that? What then also taking time out, and I tend to do this at least 1 day a month. Like, why did that not work? What is it? Is it the marketplace is different? What is the product I'm sort of suggesting not the right product? So what is it? And trying to understand if you need to be more precise in your delivery, or if you need to be persistent, because sometimes it's just you're not hitting the right market, or you're not people are just not yet ready to listen, but it is the right idea. So you need to work out it is the right idea, but I have to be persistent and not give up. And then it's about presentation. Like, do I need to present it differently? Are people not hearing my channels? So then I take that time to reflect, and then through that gives me a good analysis of if what I'm doing is correct or not. So that's can apply to anything. I then also do SWOT analysis. So for example, I'm probably one of the very few businesses that is untouched in this market in terms of people need me. People need me more than they needed me before. And I'm actually overwhelmed versus underwhelmed in activity, because I have everyone calling me. We have clients calling us because they are excited. And mostly of our clients are excited about the opportunity of getting discounts in the markets. But then we have other clients who are calling me from Blue Tiger Eye who need some more guidance. So it's good that I'm very happy and busy, but at the moment I'm strategizing how can I expedite my my channels to be more available? how many more people do I need to employ? How many people do I need to train? So I look at, like, if I'm busy, that's great, but how do I make more of it? And if I'm not busy, what opportunities are there? And let me try and do some market research and do a SWOT analysis of that position. So again, that's something I would also do on a monthly basis. So it's really having that high level thought, going down the levels, understanding where you get stuck. For example, one way that you can get stuck is if you're collaborating with a lot of collaborators, people aren't available on the time that you need them to be on at the same time. You could be doing lots of video chats and not actually achieving anything, or getting caught up in the emails. Like, people in offices get caught up in the emails and they forget their bigger plans. So having these plans and just working back and having time to reflect is really important.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to go into questions now.
Yep,
what would be great is if anyone's got any questions, you can do the put your hand up icon or type them into the group chat. And because of my weird system, Shao has to like send them to me by WhatsApp, because I don't know why I can't see the but you know, based on that, just kind of like in conclusion, you know, what I really picked up was that sense of you know, not getting stuck in the minutiae of things, you know, having a plan, being able to be reasonable and flexible and forgiving about the plan, but we've been able to review and see why the plan didn't come to fruition, or what's changed, or you know, what, or just basically being able to look at the assumptions that you've made, and you know, in terms of like the you know, I wanted to get 20 clients, but actually I only got 5. You know, what does that mean? What does that look like? So being able to be flexible and not being a sort of like a servant to the plan, but using it as a framework, and you know, being very clear on your business objectives, what you're trying to achieve. But you know, in order to do that is having that SWOT. And I like what you said, you know, for someone like myself, SWOT is exciting. So a lot of people, SWOT is like, are you kidding? And, you know, for some people, if you're not aware of SWOT, it's, Google it, but basically strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And me, I mean, I love to go, I sit in front of Netflix, I'll have my little notepad doing my SWOT analysis. You know, I actually geek out on doing stuff like that, and it always puts me in it's like a game for me. So when I see a weakness, I've churned it into a strength. So it's like, oh, this is where we're weak, but how can I turn it? So it becomes like a game, and then it can become a group game with friends and colleagues. And same with threats, you know, oh, this is the threat, how can we turn it into an opportunity? I'll share with you something which was startling. So we do a festival in Ghana, and unfortunately we were hit during the time of Corona, and there's a lot of international festival goers that attend the festival. And what happened was a lot of the some media and some people on social media were blaming, and I'll use the word blaming the festival for bringing Corona into Ghana, which there's loads of things I'd want to say about that, but I can't make any assumptions. And, you know, what was interesting was I was able to take a step back and kind of look at it. And instead of like taking it personally, I decided to talk about it to people within my network. And one person, which I thought was brilliant, said, listen, there's no such thing as bad PR. This is awesome. Everyone's going to be talking about your festival. And then I realized that this is a great opportunity to talk about the reason why we do the festival. And the reason we do the festival is because there are very few places on this planet where people can come together from all different creeds and colors and actually feel together. And there's so many challenges around the world that are trying to keep us divided. And this is a place that wants to keep people together. So, you know, it's been a great platform to be able to talk about movement of people, to talk about xenophobia, to talk about, you know, people being co-opted, to talk about a lot of these things that are very pertinent in Africa when it comes to foreign foreigners and expats? What's the difference between an immigrant? Well, you know, these are really, really important discussions. And it's really nice actually being part of that conversation. And so the point I'm making is that now it's, you know, it's actually raising the level of our brand integrity, and I think it will help us to diversify actually. So that was our big moment of
yeah, but that's exactly what I was talking about. Instead of getting into an argument with someone on social media who doesn't really care about what you're being, as you know, you're being absolutely disrespectful to it.
Yeah,
you actually took the opportunity from it. So that's actually that's the wiser, but that's the better solution, because you can use it to your advantage versus people looking at your response going, gosh, you might be getting very emotional.
yeah.
We should get tagged for being emotional all the time because we're women. But actually, you know, emotion is sometimes passion. You just need to learn when to use the passion and when to. So the passion is, I'm passionate about the goal of this festival, not that I'm passionate about protecting it. Of course I am, but that's your opinion. You can be right or wrong, but we all know that that's not really right. But you know, you can find it out yourself. But it gave you a lot of opportunity to discuss and use a wider forum, which actually I think was a great thing. So yeah, I think that's a good example.
Thank you. Has anyone got anything that would please like to share in terms of like what how they've been overcoming, what opportunities that they've been able to bring out through this current situation? I almost want to single out Leon. I'm gonna where are we? Shao? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Leon.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not bad, Rebecca. So what I really picked up on was diversifying, looking at what are the things that, so from my point of view, I was looking at what are the things that I'm doing, which I need to diversify and be operational in this time of Corona, which I could have been doing. And there's a company which I'm collaborating with. They're still functioning because they do the food deliveries for my company.
Yep.
But now they're still functioning. But how they've diversified now is that they are now doing grocery rounds. They're going to the pharmacies and they're delivering to the people's houses. So they've already diversified now from being a food delivery company into a grocery or a runner company, you could say. So I've got interest in that company. So I was actually looking at it and saying, why wasn't I really investing much into this company? Because it feels like I was just doing it because it's a food delivery company and it was going to be more affordable for me to be part of them delivering my food. But this is a different beast altogether, that you can actually have order fulfillment company and not just a food delivery company, but call it an order fulfillment company.
Yeah.
So that's what I picked up from this conversation. I don't know.
I think that's a good example. So, I mean, like when people are fearful at the moment, obviously, just let's take a stat that we heard last week. Last week, the US unemployment, which they give figures every month, which is an indicator, an economic indicator. That's another discussion, but it is something that's announced every month. So it went from the lowest point to basically 3 million people were unemployed in a month, which is huge. So the chart goes very low like here and goes boom like that. And then same context, Amazon said that they needed 100 million workers to help and keep up with orders. So if you look at the opportunity, if everyone just looks at that and goes, oh my God, life is going to, like, things are going to crash. But people forget, for online businesses and deliveries to have it, they have to employ people. Now you have to do it via social distancing, but it is possible that there is developments and opportunities. So if people just look at the bad news, oh my God, unemployment's risen, versus actually say, well, what is everyone doing? Well, everyone's ordering online. Okay, so that means actually there's a business. So I think you're a good local example of what's happening with Amazon.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still trying to figure out how to diversify though in the context of food delivery in Zimbabwe, because most of the companies we've shut down as restaurants and as cafes. So there's a project which I'm working on with the help of Yamis and the British Council of commissary kitchens. So I was actually listening to what you're saying and saying, what we could have done if we were operating right now, that would have meant all these small companies wouldn't have shut down. They'll be operating from one kitchen, and we could still be delivering food instead of having multiple restaurants open. You have one place where it's regulated, where you get sprayed, you get in, and then you work. And when you're done, people can just send food out, and then at least it's central and it's only one place. So that's the way of looking at it. That's how I was looking at diversifying as well. So it's been a good insight.
Yeah, no, definitely. Can I jump in? Because what you've given is a great example of actually still being very, very passionate about your business. So you're still looking at the opportunities, because immediately, my thought is, I wonder if there's a kitchen that you can actually, or a hotel you can quickly partner with in order to turn their place into a commissary kitchen. But I want to just move on to another question, because I think we've got time for one more question before our time is up. So thank you so much, Leon, for sharing that. I've been
Thank you.
No, definitely. No, I've been really encouraged. So for everybody, Leon has a food truck, and food outlets were some of the first places to be hit, and I think he's been incredible in terms of skipping into a completely different arena and looking at his partners in order to keep his business relevant and going. So we've got a question from Prince, who's dialing in from Ghana. He says, amazing insights. My question is, in as much as we are uncertain, and you get a plan together and you're being reasonable and flexible, how do you know where to focus your energy, your personal development or your business development, or do you do them in tandem? Could we have a practical example, please?
Okay. Yep. Can you just repeat the question so to make sure I heard
it? So basically, how do you balance personal development and business development? Where do you focus your energy? Yeah. Do you focus one or the other? Do you balance them? And could you give a practical example?
Yeah. Okay. I would say they're in tandem for me, because I think I think you need to have a positive outlook, and the only way you can have a positive outlook is by being at one with yourself. So if you're not happy, you're not going to give out happy vibes. So if your personal development is you're lacking in some area of your life and you're just compensating by working more, for example, let's say you have an unhappy relationship and you're working more just to not be around the person that you don't want to be around. My view would be that that's not healthy for the business or you, because at the end of the day, you're not giving the right vibes off to your business. So that's not the practical example that I want to give. The practical example I want to use is, I think for me, I always look at my inner self and what do I want to achieve. So I have 5-year personal, I have a Rebecca Ellis Inc. plan, which is on my computer. And I have objectives that I want to achieve. So I look at, if I have reached a certain objective, how do I get to the next one? So for example, I will use one about friends. So about 5 years ago, I was in Switzerland, quite unhappy because it's quite a changeable place. People stay here for 2-3 years and move. And I was continuously being defriended because my friends moved on to a new opportunity, moved on to a new job. So I have all these friends over the world, but how many in Geneva? Not very many. So I was feeling quite lonely, and I was feeling quite sad because I was lonely, even though I was in this big international city, because all my friends keep leaving me. So I chose to strategize my friends, which sounds a bit harsh. But I chose to start obviously looking at more sort of community events to go to, and looking at people who are from Switzerland and who live in Switzerland, as well as people that are international. So from doing that, I had again last year the same sort of issue, but for instead of 2 or 3 year friends, it's people who've been here for 10 years, suddenly decide to change their objectives and their lives. But instead of being lonely, I actually have a good diversified amount of friends. So I did that in tandem as well as doing business objectives. So for me, it's always looking at what is making me unhappy. And that time it was being lonely. So I didn't change anything. I have my rugby team. My rugby team changes typically every 3 to 4 years. And I've been with the team now 12 years. So when it comes around to doing the little presentation, how long have you been with the Wildcats? It's, I've been here 12 years. Everyone says 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, a few. So I love rugby because I love my team, but I love rugby because I love rugby. So it's always been a constant, but I also like to have other friends because I like to have more international and more globalized friends. So Swiss people who've come back from being overseas are typically the Swiss I like. I have a number of Swiss friends, but now I have a blend. Whereas before, if I continued meeting people that I naturally met, I would be lonely every 2 years. So I chose to make a difference. And I did that in tandem of trying to develop myself in terms of taking yoga and looking at opening my mind. So then that enabled me to open my objectives for my business. I realized that I have that at the same time.
Yeah. I think what we're hearing, Prince, is that actually it is a balance. Becky was talking, it reminded me of this tool that we use, and it's the balance wheel. And the truth is that, you know, you can't really, well, I don't know what truth is, but the advice is that you can't really make business decisions unless your family issues and maybe your health, all these different things. And it's all in different levels all the time. It's just the way we are, we're human. So be happy to dig that tool out and share that with you.
I have that as well. I've got
yeah.
Life wheel.
That's it. Thank you. And I just feel that what Becky was saying right at the beginning in terms of finding where you are at your most centered, what that might be for me, honestly, I'm not even joking, mine is sleep. It really is. And it took me a decade to figure out that if I keep going, it just stops me from being able to actually make any valuable decisions at all. But if I actually just switch off, I mean, and that means being asleep, you know, when I wake up, I'm far more effective and useful, and I'm able to kind of do, because it's not just those two things, Prince, it's about 10 different things that we're juggling. So we've got another question here. Shao, if you could please bring Mutenda onto, I know we're running over, so I hope this is okay for everybody, but if we could bring Mutenda onto the call so he can ask his question. Hello, hi.
Hey, how are you?
Well, thank you. Yes, please, if you could ask your question to Becky, please.
Hey, Becky. Okay, so my question is, so with social distancing and a lot of things being shut down, a lot of stuff obviously is being transacted online. Now, as a creative, a big part of your selling point is your own character.
Yeah.
And with the change in trends or what's trending on social media, do you have any tips or have you faced any challenges in translating your character as a person into a digital representation and then reach out to your client? Because for me personally, a lot of my success has been engaging people on my personality, and then that personality gets them interested in my work.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about your work, please? Sorry, just so we can get a better context. That's okay. And also where you are in the...
Yes, I'm in Nairobi, Kenya. And I'm a creative historical fiction writer. So I do a lot of African mythology and history stories, and then just contemporary stuff as well. Yes.
Yep. Okay, so I'll take it. My first example is, let's say some people are people, and other people are very introvert. Some people are extrovert and introvert. Some people develop trust much easier than others. And that depends on, I think, your persona, your character. So for example, for myself, a lot of my clients were very connected to me, and they feel that they can share stuff which they wouldn't necessarily share with, let's say, some of my employees in the company, and my business partner, who is the head of investments, because I do the sort of more strategic sort of planning. They feel very connected to me to share, and I think that comes from that I have, you know, my ethos and my ethics are very transparent. I always try and help people, and that's just the way I'm built. So that's me, that's Rebecca Ellis, it's Becky. So that comes across very strongly to my clients, which I know is because that's what I actually feel and that's what I actually want. So it's what I deliver as product to my clients as a financial planner, because I care that, you know, they have whatever. So whereas some people don't have that and some people can't do that, and that's why some people are better at business acquisition than others. But what I get from my clients and what I make sure we have instilled in the company is everyone has the same ethos, which is transparency, working for the greater good of our clients and delivering that. So we deliver that by, I can't talk to 500 people every day, but what I can do is I can send a newsletter which actually sends out those ethoses. So basically we send out a newsletter which basically puts everything into 1.5 pages about what we think and how we feel. And through that marketing, people hear and read us. So I think for someone like yourself, who is very focused on personality, it's about delivering clips and doing sort of cameo clips, so video clips about what you're doing, because you can then reach more people by actually being you, and your personality does come through video, whereas maybe an audio or a written piece, it doesn't come through. But all doing, you know, sort of small short stories where you can say read more. I think those are the ways I would use this time to basically maximize your personality.
Okay, that answers my question. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you know,
sort
of cameo, using the video factor is quite an interesting one, and there's a number of apps out there which are doing multiple users as well as Zoom. Again, those are the things that you can do with themes, I think.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Becky. We've run over a bit, which I think everyone was happy with that. That was great, and you can see my personality is coming across, hopefully, via Zoom. It's a very interesting space to be in, with a set of blank screens and some names, and I'm having to imagine reactions and also the energy you know, behind these blank screens. But I just would be grateful if, thank you, Katrina, for the applause. So I was about to say, I'd be really grateful if you could use your icons.
Can I just say something before we finish?
Yes.
It would be really interesting to hear from everyone, maybe by a message, if obviously, or maybe a voicemail if you prefer, or whatever, if you do a message. What is the opportunity that you're finding through this time, this period? I'm quite interested to do like a little market survey of seeing what people see as a positive thing. So I don't know if everyone, and we can share it within the group, or we can do
You actually preempted.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry. It's cool. You actually preempted. But I was going to get them to show their gratitude to you first. So
okay.
If you could, feel free to use your applause icon or send a message in the comment section. But Becky, seriously, really, thank you very much for that. There's, for me, I think the basic tenets here can be applied not just in this current situation, but throughout. And as for this session, we are, we're really keen to help people to get through these moments. Hatch Ideas, it does what it says on the tin. We're there to help people to clarify their thinking and to develop their concepts. And we're also really keen to do more of these talks to, you know, what is it that we can do to help you build your capacity? So as Becky was alluding to, kind of like, if you can please email us, get in touch, tell us what kind of other areas you want us to cover. What are your, what are the opportunities that you are finding? But equally also some of the ways in which you've been overcoming some of the obstacles that you've been, and the challenges that have been facing through this period. And, you know, let's keep asking those questions as the concerns start to come up. I think this is the beginnings of, I know it's the beginnings of a network. We'll be in touch with you in terms of like how we can continue the conversation, you know, going on. And so, yeah, so keep following us, link in. We'll tell you more about the next session. And you know, you please feed us ideas of what other areas that you'd like us to cover as well. So again, thank you very much, Becky. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
And I think we're gonna have to find an appropriate way to sign out. I don't have a jingle yet, but oh yeah, okay, bring your cameras back on actually, and let's crash the system. Let's see. Let's see. And what I love the most is that we're from Harare, we're from, I think Lagos is like, oh my goodness, we've got London. Wow. Oh my god. Oh, we have got Lagos. Yay. Lagos has been quiet. But thank you so much, everybody. And yeah, like I said, I'll figure out a good way to end. So hatch those ideas.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
You too. Bye. Bye.